Well, this was supposed to be a short and decisive war. Now we are facing a weapons shortage, and there's no shortage of debate either. While the highest-ranking military leader in this country says we're running out of missiles, President Trump denies reports that the U.S. is suffering a munitions shortage, even vowing in a social media post to seek long-term jail sentences for those suspected of leaking information. J.D. Simpkins is the editor-in-chief of the Military Times and Defense News. He's also a Marine Corps vet. J.D., good to see you. First of all, I just want to get your reaction to the president and his accusations of leaks. I mean, Trump's own chairman of the Joint Chiefs says there's a problem with a weapons shortage.
Well, I think it's kind of par for the course with what we've seen with this administration, where sometimes if it's presented with anything that's, a negative publicity or news, that there might be name calling or things like that directed at the news itself versus addressing any of the concerns that have arisen. And we've seen that, with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and with President Trump in the recent days with the Post, talking about that they're going to sort out or seek out leakers and prosecute them. But, simultaneously with claims saying that they have more than enough munitions, more than enough interceptors, would seem to run counter to the pursuit of actually seeking someone out who might be leaking sensitive information if that information is not true.
So this war has been flawed from day one. Is this what happens when you get into a war with no plan, no timeline, and on top of that, you're dealing with Iran?
Yeah, it's something that we've pointed out, and I've talked to you about since the outset of this conflict, is that there didn't seem to be a decisive objective in mind or an end goal in mind. We've seen a number of goalposts changing over recent months, and we've seen timelines change where it was going to be a few weeks and then 8 weeks and then, who knows when. And the objectives that were set, whether it's demolishing nuclear capability, demolishing Navy. As we've said from the start, there are military objectives that have been satisfied, but that does not necessarily equate to strategic outcomes. And we're seeing this quagmire unfold in real time. And I think, quite honestly, that's what happens when you have a Pentagon that, over the course of many months leading up to this conflict, there have been people who might have been inside that building who might have raised red flags and said, no, this is not a good idea, as many CENTCOM commanders, for instance, have done in the past. But, a lot of those people who might have been measuring the approach with this conflict have been fired or resigned in protest at various stages. So I think this is what you're kind of left with, is this, strategic, this muddying of this circumstance. And it's not, it's hard to predict what the outcome is now, just as much as it was when this started out.
Well, that leads me to my next question after, kind of muddies the water. So the men and women then that are serving right now, they have to serve. They have to listen to the commander-in-chief. Is there a concern among our service members that, this is going to impact other wartime scenarios or bad actors or countries that want to come after us? Because if we keep going at this war with Iran and we're running out of munitions, I'm just curious if the service members you've talked to are concerned about how this is going to impact our future.
Well, I think the ground level service members are never going to be a question. I think they're going to carry out the mission to the best of their ability, no matter what. And that's regardless of administration or agenda or anything like that. And that's why the military in the past has thrived over so many generations. But I think when you're getting into the upper echelon of command level officers or various things, you are seeing that concern kind of perpetuate throughout different arenas now, where all of this stuff with Iran, all of the munitions expenditures, the rush to try to replenish some of these things. The big concern is and has been China. And is this going to impede the U.S.'s ability to defend itself if a near peer enemy like China suddenly, wanted to scratch an itch for combat? And that's where the concern would really lie.
JD Simpkins, always great to have your insight. Appreciate you.